Hello, friends, and welcome back to my channel. Or welcome if you're new here. My name is Brandy, and I'm the owner and creator of Boundless Treasures Boutique. And today I'm going to be showing you how we made this super cute camper mug from Stainless Steel Depot with a glitter base. So, with all of that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in. I hope you guys enjoy, and don't forget to like and subscribe. So to start, we are going to sand and prep our cup. I'm doing my usual sanding routine. So I have my hand sander and I'm going to run that all over the base of my cup. And then I'm going to go in with a paper sandpaper and I'm going to do the handle that way. I can get that really nice. However, you guys, you don't need a hand sander in order to prep your base. You can use just regular sandpaper or a sanding block and it will accomplish the same thing. I use 120 grit when I am prepping my bases, and that seems to work out really well for me. But again, you can choose whichever grit you prefer. Now, once you're done sanding, you're going to want to make sure you give your cup a nice bath. I just typically put some rubbing alcohol or wash it with some water and Dawn dish soap. Once that's done and fully dry, we're going to take this out to my spray paint booth and we're going to spray paint it using this green from Rust-Oleum and make sure that we get a nice even base and allow it to dry. Typically in the winter, my cups take a little bit longer to dry just because it's colder. So I left this to sit for about an hour, hour and a half. But your dry times may vary depending upon your climate and where you're at. Now that we are all done with that, it is time to start the glittering process. I'm going to make sure I also get any excess spray paint out. I just used some acetone and one of my paper towels to get the inside of the cup really good. Now, to apply our glitter, I am using Crystalac glitter glue, just a makeup brush, and we will be using Peachy Olive's Goyle for our glitter. You're going to want to make sure that you get a nice even base all around your cup. And if you're doing your handle, you're going to want to make sure you get all around your handle, on the top, on the sides, and underneath. This way you have good glitter coverage. Once that is covered, nice and neat, you can start applying your glitter. I like to start with the handle because it's typically the most challenging part of the cup. But how you start is 100% up to you. And don't forget to get your bottoms. Of course, if you don't like green, you can really use whatever color you want to create a camper glitter mug like this. It's super, super versatile and anything would look absolutely great. After you've got your cup all glittered and your area all cleaned up, I like to make sure that I go in and I press down any of the glitter with my parchment paper. I do this especially with chunkier glitters. This will just make for an easier application for my epoxy and I won't have to do extra layers. Also, it also helps me make sure that I've got coverage in all the areas that I want. Now, once this is done and it's dried for 2 hours, I'm ready to move on to epoxying. So I'm using Flynn Sisters Supplies Fast Cure Artistry Epoxy, Part A and Part B. This is a thicker epoxy, so just be very, very mindful of that. It's probably one of the thickest epoxies I've ever worked with, but the finish on it is uncomparable. So I'm showing you the mixing phase here because it did take me quite a while to mix it. And what I'll tell you is take your time if you're using a thicker viscosity epoxy. It'll be worth it in the long run. Now, once your epoxy is all ready to go, now is time to apply. I always start with, again, the handle. That is typically the most challenging part of any cup that comes with a handle. So I just make sure that I get really, really good coverage. And then I'm going to apply the rest of my epoxy just like normal. I'm going to put it all over, and then I'm going to make sure that I drag my finger up around the whole surface of the cup and then down around the whole surface of the cup. And really what you should feel like is a smooth, even, kind of like smooth like butter type feel. That's how you know you've got enough epoxy on the base of your cup. Once I am happy with the coverage of my epoxy, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to come in with my torch, and I'm going to really, really quickly pop any micro bubbles. I usually typically let it spin for a little bit. This just allows the micro bubbles to surface to the top of the cup, making it easier for me to make sure that I get them all. Now, once that's done, I allowed this to cure for about, gosh, I think I left this one overnight. I didn't need to. It was ready to go within a couple hours. I could have moved on to my next step. But once it was done, I'm going to start my cleaning routine. So I make sure I go around the ridge with my crafting knife. And then I also am going to use my sanding block. This is a 120 grit sanding block here that I'm using, and I'm just going to go around the entire base of the cup. And then I'm going to grab my sandpaper. Again, it's 120 grit, and we're going to make sure that we get that handle. That way there's no lumps or bumps. Now, luckily, again, Flint Sisters Supply Shop epoxy is fabulous. So I did not need to put a second coat on. So I went right into my decaling after that. And I'm going to show you how I did this. And I do seal everything in with polyacrylic. So I'm going to start with Cricut Design Space. I found the Scales of Justice on Cricut. So those were the ones that I chose to use. And then I made sure that I sized it appropriately for the cup design. So you'll just want to make sure, measure once so that you only, or measure twice so that you only have to cut once, as Jessica Flynn would say. And then I used this font that says a member of the Elite SVU. And I'm going to show you how I did the name, because how I did the name was how I did the wording above. But I went into Procreate. I had my font already picked out. And then I typed out the name of the customer that this is going to. From there, what I do is I go up to my toolbox and I go to my like the little wrench, and I go to export. And that will allow me to export that as a PDF into Cricut Design Space, which will then allow me to cut it. I was fiddling around here with it just to see if the font was right, all of that. Because this was a cup that was previously made and we were adding another person to this group, we needed to make sure that she had a cup too. So Once that was done, I uploaded it into my Cricut design space. And again, I'm just sizing it accordingly. So just make sure you're measuring twice so that you only have to cut once. And once you're done with that, up at the top, you'll want to go to make it. And then you can start your cutting process. Once you finish cutting, now comes the fun part. It is time to weed and apply our decals. I am using the silver textured vinyl from Tech Craft. It is by far my favorite of the textured vinyls. I typically will not use anything other than this. And then we're just going to make sure that we are using our little pin to get out all the extra little bits and pieces so that we can start applying the decal to our cup. The transfer tape I'm using today is also from Tech Craft. It actually worked beautifully with the textured vinyl. Definitely would recommend if you're looking for a good transfer tape. From there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make sure that our cup is straight and even. I'm going to put it in my cup holder from Cami Page Boutique. And then we're going to go ahead and start applying our decal. Once your decal's all applied, I like to go in with some polyacrylic. I just grabbed this at Home Depot. I make sure I apply this all over the decals I just applied. This will help make sure that the epoxy doesn't repel. And we put 2 more layers of Flynn Sisters Artistry Epoxy, you guys. And that was it. She is finished. So super cute. But I hope you guys all have a really happy holiday. Thank you for joining me this week, and I will see you next year when I come back. Bye now.